Hey rod builders, Buzz Butters here from Mudhole Custom Tackle Instructional staff. What we're going to do in this segment is we're going to talk about setting up a power wrapper so that you can shape grips in your rod shop, be it cork, EVA, however you want to shape it, whatever size you want, we can do it with this setup. And we're going to go through a couple of steps on how you can go about doing that. First, let's talk about the machine itself. This is the RBS Pro Wrapper from Mudhole. I used one of the aluminum lathe beds, and of course you can add more if you're going to put the entire rod into it, but we're just going to make one grip on a mandrel. So I used one of the aluminum lathe beds. I used two of their new upright standards. And let me tell you, these things are really, really nice. You can adjust the tension and adjust the height on there because this is all threaded, it is all aluminum, and it makes holding a rod when you're wrapping it in place or a grip when you're shaping it, it holds it in place very well. So you'll also notice that I've got these two uprights facing in different directions. Once I start turning this piece and once I start shaping it, if the uprights are both facing the same directions, that piece can pop out of one of those uprights. If I swap the uprights around so they're facing each other, that holds that mandrel in place. You'll also notice that if you have the RBS Pro Wrapper and you're wrapping rods, this power head is on the other side of the wrapper. It's on the other side of the bench. Because when you're wrapping, you want the piece turning away from you. When I'm shaping, I want the piece facing toward me. So I need to flip the lathe around and put the power head to my right. And that way it'll be coming toward me so that I can shape the grip. It is run by a series of belts. When you get the power wrapper, it comes with directions and instructions on how to properly set up the power head and the belts and how to line everything up. So we've got the bed, we've got the uprights, we've got the power head. I also have right here a tool rest. And a tool rest is very important for shaping that piece to keep it in the middle of the mandrel and keep that hole centered. That's important because you want that grip centered on your rod, so we need to keep it centered when we're shaping it. And I'll get to that in just a minute. To hold this piece in place, or this grip in place, we used a steel mandrel that you can get from Mudhole. They come in different sizes, and I try to get the size that closely matches the outside diameter of the blank that I'm using so that I don't have to do a lot of reaming. We take individual cork rings. Well, first of all, I'm going to take some mandrel wax and rub that mandrel with the mandrel wax. This allows you to release the grip from the mandrel when you're all done shaping it. Let's talk about putting these cork rings together. You can use natural cork, you can use burl cork, or you can use EVA. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about cork. You've got burl cork, that's spelled B-U-R-L cork, and then you've got the natural cork, which is the protective inner bark of a cork oak tree. Burl cork is sort of a particle board of cork. It's made up of different pieces of cork, some rubber, some epoxy, and it's compressed into a cork ring. So either natural cork or burl cork work very well together and they make great grips. So if I was going to put this piece together here, I want to epoxy these pieces onto a mandrel. To do that, I'm going to take some Pro Glue 40-minute epoxy. It's a two-part epoxy, it's a liquid. Mix it up, and then I'm going to use a brush just to paint the epoxy on the face of the cork rings. I don't want to put a lot of glue in there because I don't want glue rings. So I'm only going to wipe on that mixed Pro Glue 40-minute until I get the cork faces wet. Once I get the cork faces wet, I slide them all into place, and using the cullets that come with the mandrels, and if you want a big fender washer, I put these all together, squeeze them together, tighten down the cullets, and I let this dry. And now I've got a piece of rough cork on the grips in the shape that I want it. You can see that piece right here. That's the stage we're at right now. So now we want to shape this grip into the size that we want. So eventually I'm going to loosen and remove these collets that are here, and I'm just going to shape this grip. In shaping grips, you really only need two tools. A wood rasp, you can get at any hardware store, and a series of sandpaper in different grades. I have hand tightened this mandrel into the power head here of the chuck, and I get it nice and tight, and I hand tighten it. I make sure that all of these uprights are secure and holding this in place and that there's no give and no wobble. So now my wrapper's all set up to shape. Now let's go with the safety part of this demo. You've got the eye protection, gotta have it. I actually wear a face shield when I'm doing this because I don't want pieces of this that might come loose, you know, scratching up my prescription glasses. So I'll wear a face shield or some eye protection. Hand protection is a great idea. What a lot of rod builders fail to use sometimes is dust collection. Dust collection is huge. You've got this set up on your bench. Run your shop vac hose with a holder with the spout right underneath this piece right here. So as it turns, it's sucking all that dust and all those particles right off of your piece. Not only is it important to keep the dust off of your shop, but it's also important to keep the dust out of your lungs. And so having a shop vac hooked up right underneath your piece is very important. We've got the power wrapper set up, we've got the pieces glued together and clamped, and we've got all of our safety equipment ready to go with our shop vac. So let's just briefly go through how to shape this. The speed control on this machine is a foot pedal, just like a sewing machine foot pedal, so that you can adjust the speed of the turning of the piece, be it power wrapping or being it shaping grips. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the piece is in safely. And to do that, I'm going to start very slowly, and I'm going to monitor this thing. Is the mandrel coming out of here? Is there any play or give down here by the wrappers? Everything is secure. Great, now I can shape the piece and do it safely. So I take my rasp and I'm going to lay it on the tool rest, and I'm going to come down until that rasp just barely touches that piece. That is the angle I want to maintain across this piece as I move the rasp up and down it. I'm not using lathe tools, I'm not using parting tools or chippers, I'm simply using a wood rasp. So I'm going to get it going at the speed I want, I'm going to bring it down to where I want it, and once I start doing this, I'm just going to keep it at that angle, and I'm going to move it up and down that piece. Take your time, you're not cutting this, you're shaving this. Think of it that way. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get to roughly the outside diameter that I want on that piece. Now that I've got it approximately shaped to where I want to, now I want to fine sand it. You can start out with 60 grit sandpaper, go through a couple until you work your way down to 180, 220, 300-ish, something where you can get a nice fine sand and you can get it exactly the shape that you want. That is the cool thing about custom grips, is you are shaping that grip to fit you or your specific angler customer and how they want to hold a fishing rod. It's really simple. If the rod is not comfortable in your hand, you're not going to fish it. The more comfortable the rod is, the more you're going to fish it, the more fish you're going to catch, and the more confidence you're going to have in that fishing rod. And you can make them look really cool. And if you're going to be in a boat all day and not catch any fish, you should at least look cool while you're doing it, right? Right, exactly. So now we've got this shape to where we want with the sandpaper. Now let's do a couple of final touches. I like to take a piece of denim off of an old pair of jeans and really pull that dust off of that piece. It's going to make your inlays and your colors really stand out. I'm not going to run this denim up and down because then all I'm doing is pushing the dust particles around. I'm going to take it and just hold it in place. And by holding it in place, you can see the dust on that piece of denim. I'm sucking all that dust off of that piece. Okay? That's how to shape cork. If you're ever using natural cork is full of pits. That's just the way it is. And with natural cork, you need to fill those pits in so you get a nice smooth grip. And this is Elmer's Glue wood filler. It is in golden oak, is the color to use when filling in the pits for natural cork. Rub it in with your finger, let it dry for 10 or 15 minutes, put it back in the machine here, go back over it with 180 or 220 sandpaper, and you'll get a nice smooth natural cork grip. So with natural cork to fill that pits, use this. We talked about cork briefly, let's talk about EVA grips. EVA is the exact same process for shaping grips, only instead of using Pro Glue 40-minute liquid, we're going to use weldwood contact cement to hold the EVA pieces together. This is a very simple polka dot style EVA grip where we inlaid pink EVA cylinders into holes we had drilled through the black. So now what we needed to do is we needed to get these big pieces of pink off of here and shape them. We put it on a mandrel, and using drywall sanding screen, we shaped this grip. When we got done, all of that pink was full of that black dust and it was hard to see the pink. So to make the colors come out on an EVA grip, go back to your piece of denim, and while it's spinning, hold that in place, and that denim will suck all of that black and pink dust off of that grip and really make the colors stand out. So those are the steps on how to shape your own grip. It's easy to do. It's extremely functional. It's very decorative. Set yourself up with the proper equipment. If you need help, call Mudhole Custom Tackle with their support people. They'll help you walk through everything and get set up. You're going to be able to make some gorgeous, gorgeous custom grips.